SCP-173, the Sculpture, a living creature that can move if no one is looking at it. 3 researchers were watching and observing it, under strict orders not to blink or close their eyes at the same time. However, one of the researchers had been moonlighting on a night shift and was sleep-deprived, causing him to yawn. His 2 colleagues saw this and quickly warned him, "Don't do that! Don't you dare close your eyes!" Fear began to set in, and they all started blinking rapidly and erratically. Then there was a scraping sound, "Kuk-kuk, kuk-kuk," as if something was moving. The deadly sculpture! How did it get out? Everyone tried to keep their eyes open as wide as they could, tears streaming down their faces, their lips trembling with fear. But the sleep-deprived researcher yawned again and closed his eyes. Uh-oh! And then, surprise! SCP-173 has come for you! As for what happens next, you can probably guess.
There is a tale from the Siberian wilderness about a strange, thin, pale white creature. It is said that if anyone sees its face, it will hunt them down and brutally kill them. Not long ago, an old video footage reel recorded during the 1970s was discovered. It showed a laboratory with test tubes and old-fashioned equipment. A man in the video spoke to the camera in stuttering Russian, and the main point was that he was about to conduct an experiment to overcome human limitations. He then used a syringe to inject a green substance into his body. His muscles began to stretch, his skin turned pale, and his body became abnormally thin and elongated. He had become something else. Years later, 2 teenagers encountered a tall, pale white humanoid in the forest. They thought it might be a lost person, but as soon as it turned its face toward them, the teenagers were never seen again. A few days after that, a snowstorm hit a nearby village. The creature attacked, killing people and forcing the villagers to flee for their lives. When the SCP Foundation heard the news, they arrived with helicopters to hunt down and capture this beast, bringing it back to the Foundation for containment. Its designation is SCP-096, the Shy Guy. It keeps its face hidden at all times and becomes extremely aggressive if anyone attempts to look at its face.
SCP-131, the iPods, are classified as safe. They have a playful and adorable nature much like pets, which has earned them the trust to not be contained and to be allowed to roam freely throughout the facility. At times, they can cause trouble for researchers, distracting them from their work with their mischievousness. Their playfulness eventually led to a serious incident when they accidentally ran into the switch that opened the containment chamber for SCP-173, the Sculpture. The male researcher was terrified. What could he do? It was out, and he was surely going to die. It stood right in front of him at close range. There was no escape. But then the orange and yellow iPods jumped onto his body. Their unblinking stares caused SCP-173 to freeze and stop moving. This allowed the Special Response Team to successfully return the Sculpture to its containment chamber. That was a close call. These 2 may be troublemakers, but they are also truly praiseworthy guardians.
Dr. Simon was stressed out writing a research report on the happiness-inducing abilities of SCP-999. Suddenly, the orange jelly blob bounced over, hugged his leg, and acted so affectionately that it made the doctor laugh. But in the next moment, it used its hand to pull the power cord, shutting down the computer before running away. It was so deserving of a spanking. A chase then ensued. He ran after SCP-999, which seemed pleased to have successfully pranked the doctor. The two chased each other down the hallway and straight into the containment chamber of SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile whose door had been left open. The doctor's face went pale with extreme shock when he saw the orange jelly blob leap onto the sleeping SCP-682, waking it up. But what happened next was unexpected. Instead of going on a rampage, the beast let out a meow-like sound, similar to a little kitten. The orange jelly blob then rolled out of the lab. Dr. Simon quickly followed and managed to press the button to close the door just in time. That was a close call. The orange blob then ran to the coffee machine, plugged it in, and gestured as if to say, "You've worked hard. You should take a break." Dr. Simon was thus able to conclude in his report that not only can SCP-999 induce happiness, but it is also a mischievous little troublemaker.
Dr. Simon was preparing to record his research findings on SCP-529, a half-cat named Josie. Although she only has a front half, she can live like a normal cat. Suddenly, SCP-049, the Plague Doctor, appeared from nowhere. It looked down at Josie and said, "I sense the pestilence in you. I must cure you." After speaking, it raised a surgical knife, preparing to strike the cat's body. The surrounding personnel froze, fearing for Josie's safety. However, the little cat remained calm and unfazed, looking up at the Plague Doctor with its typical feline gaze. Now it was the Plague Doctor's turn to be startled. Josie rubbed her head against its leg and meowed, causing it to instinctively bend down and stroke the cat's head. It then spoke. "Perhaps you are not the one in need of a cure. It is I who requires this comfort." All the personnel were stunned, as this was the first time they had ever seen the Plague Doctor so calm and harmless. The staff then escorted SCP-049 back to its containment cell. Dr. Simon concluded in his report that SCP-529 is not just an anomaly, but also possesses a healing power for the mind, so potent that it might even cause a killer to have a change of heart.
SCP-3199 is a creature nicknamed Humans Refuted, believed to have originated in Ireland on a farm belonging to an anonymous researcher. He created it using the DNA of several species, including chickens, monkeys, chimpanzees, venomous snakes, and humans. It emits a high-pitched scream like a banshee from local folklore. Its body is large, with pale white skin and a human-like head. When it opens its eyes, it will brutally attack and consume all forms of life. But what is even more terrifying is that every time it dies, it regurgitates a new egg from its mouth, effectively creating a replacement for itself in a seemingly endless cycle. The SCP Foundation dispatched numerous personnel to control the situation. They used a lure to trick it into a specially reinforced container, which was then sealed before being transported back to the Foundation for containment. The research team concluded in their report that SCP-3199 is likely the result of a failed experiment, a creature that should not exist in this world. It would become a never-ending nightmare if it were allowed to continue hatching from its eggs.
This is Roger, a recent graduate researcher on what seemed to be his easiest first assignment, babysitting SCP-367, Little Dog, a fluffy chow chow puppy with a special ability. It can eat everything from a pestle to a battleship. Ha-ha! This job is a piece of cake! Just playing with a dog? No problem, Roger thought as he tossed it a ball. But the puppy ignored it and walked over to chew on the leg of a steel table instead. Roger was stunned. He looked away for just a moment, and when he turned back, the table leg was gone. The little dog was now sweating a thick slime, which was forming into another identical puppy. The two dogs looked at Roger, then turned to their next target, the steel door of the containment chamber. The situation seemed to be escalating beyond control, forcing Roger to run and press the alarm button. The scene then cuts to the cafeteria, where dozens of fluffy little dogs are swarming, chewing up tables and chairs and causing chaos for all the researchers in the room, completely ruining their meal. Oh, the humanity!
It was another chaotic day for Department X when the premium vanilla ice cream required to feed SCP-043-TH, the ice cream man, suddenly ran out. Dr. Sumit, the project supervisor, held his head in his hands as he had to find a substitute brand of ice cream and bring it to the containment chamber for the ice cream man to eat in the meantime. The ice cream man began to taste each brand, shaking its head. This one is too sweet. This one has too much artificial flavoring. I don't like any of these at all. Dr. Sumit started to sweat, knowing that if SCP-043-DH became displeased, he would begin to exhibit aggressive and violent behavior. Seeing Dr. Sumit's pale face, the ice cream man let out a soft laugh. It's all right, Doctor. Actually, there is one favorite flavor of mine that I haven't eaten in a long time. Dr. Sumit breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "What flavor is that? I'll go file the request for it immediately." SCP-043-TH didn't answer, but instead turned to look at the new assistant waiting by the door, ready to collect the empty ice cream cups. It then turned back to the doctor, smiled, and whispered, "The flavor of your previous colleague, Doctor. That is my favorite flavor."
Tom, a janitor for Department X, had spent the whole morning cleaning the ice cream man's room, which was filthy and splattered with ice cream stains all over the floor. He couldn't help but complain to himself, "Am I working for the SCP Foundation or an ice cream parlor?" As he walked out of the room, Tom's eyes fell upon a piece of bread lying in the hallway. It was still warm and smelled fragrant as if it had just come out of the oven. Hungry, tired, and without a second thought, he quickly put it in his mouth, devouring every last bite. Wow, this is absolutely delicious! 3 days later, Tom's body had turned into a giant loaf of bread waddling down the hallway. When he reached the cafeteria, none of the personnel ran away. Instead, as if under a spell, they all ran towards Tom's body. Everyone began tearing off pieces of his bread body and eating them with delight. Some even brought condensed milk and pandan custard to eat it with. The situation was truly beyond control. Now, can you guess what happened 3 days after that? Well, this is how you get SCP-087-TH, the zombie bread, running rampant all over the room.
Dan, a Department X agent, was comfortably dozing off at the control desk during his night shift when suddenly the alarm blared. It was an emergency. SCP-4975 had breached containment. In a panic, Dan immediately radioed the search team. SCP-4975 is out. I don't know where it went. Fully armed, the agents scrambled to find SCP-4975, trying to listen for the click, click, click sound similar to a ticking clock, which was its signature sound. But now it was silent. Where had it gone? Then a call came over the radio that SCP-4975 had been located in the cafeteria. All agents rushed to the scene. And there it was. SCP-4975, the horror bird, stood defiantly facing everyone. It then rotated its head in a full circle like the hands of a clock, but strangely, no one could hear its clicking sound. The agents aimed their guns, ready to fire, but the horror bird suddenly stopped and held out something.
It was a small screw taken from the wall clock in the cafeteria. Then it spoke in a hoarse voice. "A screw came loose in my net. I just came out to find a clock part."